You basically stole your dad's camera.
Pretty much. It was a very special moment.
You're just a little brain bug, aren't you? But anyway, normally my assistants are taller than me because I'm quite short, but this is a real bonus. Were you teaching it to the others?
No.
For you to have one of those books.
Wow. Just right, I think. It's a tiny bit dark on that side.
It's too dark.
Okay. I hope that I can use my photography to show people how amazing wildlife is.
I'm super excited. We've got an amazing young guest coming to the studio tomorrow. She's an award-winning photographer, and I'm going to be interviewing her and doing a shoot with her. Hello! Jamie!
Yeah?
Nice to meet you. You are going to be a special guest on our show. Welcome to Visual Education, everyone. I'm Karl Taylor. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Jamie Smart. Let's find out a little bit more about Jamie and what she does before we get stuck into this interview.
The winner of the Young Photographer of the Year 2023, Jamie Smart.
Wow. Wow is all I can say. How old are you?
I'm 9.
You're 9 years old.
Yep.
You've done more already than some photographers who've been working for a lifetime. That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Now, the first image we're going to look at, tell us about this, because you've just won another award.
Yep. So this one actually won the 2025 Young British Wildlife Photographer of the Year.
That's
and it
amazing.
literally got released just yesterday.
That's
so
incredible. And that is a really big, prestigious competition as well. That one tours all around, doesn't it? They have the exhibition. So which category was this in?
It was in the 11 and under category.
11 and under, and you're only 9.
Yep.
Amazing. Amazing. So tell us a little bit about that particular photo then, how you went about it.
Well, I actually took this one when I was 8, and I remember having to get up silly early, I think it was around about 1 o'clock in the morning, to be able to drive to the plains for the sun rising up over the hill. And we heard the sound of the stone curlew somewhere in the distance, but it was pretty much impossible to find it in all the brush and grasses. But then I heard the call of the Eurasian curlew.
Is that what that is?
Yep. And I spotted a pair just wading through around about thousands of just perfectly lit dandelion clocks in the sunlight. And this one was just looking for some breakfast, pretty much.
Right.
And managed to capture him in the beautiful little dock leaves all lit up.
Yeah, the lighting on it is beautiful with the dew on the grass and the backlighting and the occlusion, the way it's framed. Fantastic. Definitely a well-deserved shot. So tell me, Jamie, 2 things that interest me. Your name is Jamie Smart, which is a very cool name, by the way. But you've got a sort of social media handle as the Eagle-Eyed Girl.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
So, well, the first one, we were just trying to think of a name for the Instagram. And we were thinking of Hawkeye and things, because I had very good spotting vision for wildlife and birds in flight and loads of things. Yeah. But it was taken, so we couldn't use it. So we were thinking, I thought, what about Eagle Eyes?
Yeah.
And we looked, that was taken. So then we thought, well, Eagle-Eyed Girl, and that's where it came from, really.
Brilliant. It's a great name, isn't it? Because obviously you need a great eye for photography. And a lot of your work is birds photography.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, I know these are gannets because this is my favourite bird.
Oh, right.
Because we've got a big gannet colony near here. Right. And when I'm out fishing and diving, we see these all the time. Incredible birds. They dive into the sea. This shot spectacular. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so it was really early morning and there were loads of gannets all along the cliff edge, just waking up. And they were taking flight off to go fishing. But these ones were not so happy. So there's literally neighbours squabbling because they were both pairs and they were squabbling over who was going to have their place on that rock.
Right, yeah. They look like they're having an argument.
Yeah, and I think this one in the end just took off because he couldn't have any more of it, so then that one took over.
But again, it's just beautiful composition, beautiful backlighting, and we can just see that lovely sort of yellow plumage there in the neck there.
Because they only get that in summer for the breeding season, so it's a very special time to get that sort of
and I love the way they look like they've got almost makeup on and eyeliner going around their eyes. Absolutely gorgeous birds. Now, tell us how you got started. Why and how did you get started in photography?
So my passion for wildlife began with a massive passion for dinosaurs. But when I realised that I wasn't able to see a real dinosaur, I then found out that birds and animals and insects are related to dinosaurs.
Yeah, birds especially.
So then, that's where my passion for wildlife began. Okay. So I used binoculars to see them, but I found it very difficult using them before the bird flew away or the animal ran off. Yeah. So Dad asked if I'd like to use one of his old cameras because he always liked to have, he had a little bit of a hobby. It was always a little thing in the background for him. So he had a camera. Right. And he asked if I wanted to use it, but I didn't want to drop the camera because I knew how expensive it was. But when I started taking photos of things around the garden, sparrows in the bush and things, it's where it all began, and that's how my passion for photography and wildlife started. Right.
So basically, your mum and dad are here, but you basically stole your dad's camera.
Pretty much.
Did you give it back?
Yeah.
And did you move on to get your own equipment and upgrade from there?
Yes, we did upgrade, because we started off with a D850 camera.
That's a Nikon, isn't it?
Yeah, Nikon D850. And then we moved up to a Nikon D8500. Yeah. And then we upgraded again to the Nikon Z9, which is a very good body for wildlife photography.
Wow. Sounds like you should be an ambassador for Nikon. So tell me in particular, what do you love about photography? What's the thing about photography, and in particular natural history and wildlife photography, that you love?
Well, I really love just going out searching for the wildlife. I find it's quite a fun challenge to try and find loads of insects and cool things that not many people get to see. And I like to use the photography to show them in their natural habitat and in a beautiful way to show people how amazing the wildlife is. And because some people can't even get out to see the wildlife. So getting photos allows people to see loads of different little bugs and things from
things like this
angles.
That we would never see. So just for example,
like
how big would that be in real life?
Only around about that big. It's tiny.
Tiny little thing.
Little
what, in millimeters?
Spider.
How many millimeters?
Around about 10 millimeters.
So it's like a centimetre.
Yeah.
Wow. And this is incredible. So where did you photograph this?
This was actually in Australia, in our trip to Australia.
Oh, okay.
We were out with a friend that we met at dusk in a little botanical garden looking for insects. Right. And he spotted this crab spider, male crab spider, and said, "Come over here quick," to get a picture of it. And he had his legs raised up because he wasn't too happy with us being
Not poisonous then?
No, these ones aren't poisonous. But the amazing thing is that they can actually change colour to the flower they're on, to be able to capture bees. So the bee lands on
like
the flower
camouflage.
and then it grabs it. It's really cool. Yeah.
That's amazing. So not only are you progressing really well with your photography, but it sounds like you're progressing really well with your understanding of zoology and biology and animal behaviour, which is really important, isn't it, to capturing good photographs?
Because if you know where to find it and its favourite foods and things, you know where, just round about where to look for the animal, and it's really useful.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Now, what would you say is a key skill that's needed to be a good wildlife photographer?
Patience.
Patience.
Definitely patience, because you've always got to, it's always better you wait for the animal to come to you, so it doesn't feel spooked with you being there.
Yeah.
So you've always got to wait in a position just for it to come into the right angle. Sometimes he's not even facing you, or it's just too high up or too low down.
So
you just got to wait for him to get in the right position.
Got to wait for that particular moment. Now, actually, I think slide 29 gives us a good example of that, you waiting for that moment. Let's take a look at this.
And at the moment, I am taking some photos of a little egret and a curlew. And there's also some sandlins running in and out, which I'm trying to get a photo of. But at the moment, it's a little egret and a ringed curlew. So, maybe we'll be able to identify the ring and see which curlew it is. Yep, definitely in the ring.
Now that's amazing as well, because not only have you partially camouflaged yourself there, but you're in the rain, out in all these difficult conditions. Does that bother you?
Not really. Well, sometimes it is a bit bit too wet for me. But if you just sit there and you wait, you can see loads of behaviours and grumpy looks on birds that you wouldn't see in the sunshine. So it's always cool to go out in the rain to see what they'll do. But it was very windy and rainy that day.
And you mentioned about patience, but is the camouflage part important for some animals?
Camouflage is important for some animals, such as mammals and birds that are very shy. Because if they don't think you're there, then you can see them just doing what they usually
observe
do.
their more natural behaviour.
It's like you're not even there. It's like you're looking into a different world. It's really funky.
Now, let's jump back to slide 4, because this one's a little bit more interesting for me, because it's a little bit more, I would say, what sort of photography that I do, which sort of looks almost like a studio portrait with the white background and the beautiful lighting. It's such a fantastic portrait of an animal, this. And I believe this was another award-winning, was it an RSPCA?
Yes, this won a category in the RSPCA. It was pet portraits. And this is...
Is that your pet?
This is Fighter, our cockerel. And he is quite feisty, but he has an attitude on him, and you can see that in this image.
Definitely see that.
And I think I took this one when I was 6, because this is one of the first images I took. And literally, I was just walking around the garden looking for birds, and he was strutting next to his fence in his massive coop, wandering around with all his ladies. And he gave me a nice side shot of him, so I managed to capture a nice portrait.
Yeah, he looks very grand, doesn't he? And I love the lighting and the textures, and it works really well in black and white. Now, the next slide is really interesting because it shows you winning an award and the surprise. I think this is absolutely beautiful. Let's take a look at this. So tell us about that.
That was a very special moment. That was with a picture of a turkey called Frederick, and he was staring right down the lens, and Dad was holding a speedlight flash, and we were trying to move with him, and I was trying to get in the right angle, and Dad was firing the flash right behind him. And this photo got the overall winner in the 2024.
You must be very used to winning awards now, because I've got so many photos here on the list that have won awards, plus the big one yesterday as well. You must be sort of very used to that by now. What would you say has been your favourite moment in photography so far?
Favourite moment? They're all my favourite moments, really. Just going out there and photographing is my favourite moment. But I'd say my favourite moment would be a special moment when I find a new species that I haven't seen before. Like just a couple of days ago, we spotted a sea slug for the first time. And it was really exciting for me because I'd never seen one before. And it's just those little moments that fill me with so much joy. And that's what I really like.
Fantastic. Now, why do you think photography of nature is important?
Well, photography of nature shows people different sides to loads of different species of wildlife. So, like some people that can't really get out, and with the naked eye, you don't see detail of tiny little ants like that. You can get pictures of them and show the detail that the naked eye can't see. And I think it's really special just to show people loads of different sides to wildlife.
And I think it's also super important for people to, obviously, like you say, to learn, but to help protect nature as well.
Yes.
Because when people appreciate nature, then it helps them think about maybe looking after it a little bit as well.
Yeah, that's our goal.
Now, a lot of our audience, as you know, are photographers. I'm sure they're going to be very interested in knowing a bit about the camera equipment. You mentioned some of the camera equipment that you use.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit more about that. And we're also going to go to slide 11, because some of the camera equipment you use, let's just take a look at this video. Now, you see, I can't believe that you can even pick that up. Was that like a 400mm or a 600mm?
It was a fixed 800mm.
That's a
Sigma.
massively heavy lens.
To start off, it was pretty heavy, but I got used to the weight.
Yeah.
And I got stronger holding it. And that was and I sort of leaned back a bit just to get a steady angle. But yeah, it is a fairly long lens, but it's very good for wildlife photography.
Yeah. So, is this your latest kit? What are you using most, or do you have more than one setup?
Right, we've got loads of lenses, a whole myriad of lenses, but we use the Nikon Z9 body because it's incredibly sharp in photography. But we do use the Olympus Mark II, and that's for macro photography. We recently just got that for our macro setup. Okay. Because it's got a very small sensor compared to the
So it's a crop
Nikon.
sensor.
Yeah, it's got a
So it'll
crop
have a greater
sensor.
depth of field.
And you can get closer to insects. It's incredibly good for macro photography.
Because that particular format camera is a little bit more compact, isn't it?
It
so
is,
it's a little bit easier to handle.
It's also very light as well.
Tell us about that photo. That's incredible, that.
We're out in Australia. This is actually a fairly new species that's recently been discovered. It's called a jade huntsman.
Wow.
And we were out photographing because the fella who makes the Cygnus Tech diffusers that we use for macro photography, called Brendan, and he said, come out for a night and we can look for insects. So he found this and said, oh wow, this is incredibly rare. We should get so many pictures of this to try and get some really nice ones. So I was getting loads of different angles, and this was one of them, just facing down and looking at him on the leaf.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
and so you're using flash for this?
Yes.
And I've noticed you use this flash diffuser to soften your flash speed light out a little bit.
It's very good for macro photography. So we get a little speed light, and then it attaches to the speed light, and it funnels the light down, and it spreads all over this diffusing material, just like scrims. Yes. And it's very good for detail.
Your knowledge of photography is incredible for your age.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
Incredible. Now, this is a bit of a basic question for you, to be honest, all right? I'm just interested, and I'm sure our audience will be interested as well. What is your favourite land animal? What's your favourite insect? And what's your favourite type of bird? Let's start with the land animal.
I like them all, really, but if I was to choose a land animal, I would have said maybe a big cat species. Okay. I really like big cats. I'd say maybe a jaguar. I really like jaguars and leopards.
So insects?
An insect. It's toying between a praying mantis and a jumping spider, really.
Okay.
I like both
Very
of
good.
those.
Very good. Praying mantis are incredible. They look like aliens, don't they?
They do look like aliens, and they're very good hunters. They lie in wait, and they've got little like grasps on the end of their arms, and they throw them out at insects. If you were crickets, their worst nightmare. It's a very good predator.
Yeah, they look fantastic. And what about favourite type of bird?
Bird. I would have had to say probably a peregrine falcon.
Peregrine falcon.
Fastest bird in the
Fastest
world.
bird. Must
Yeah.
be difficult to photograph that one.
Incredibly difficult to photograph, but I did manage to get a photograph of one flying over our house once. And I was just walking around the garden. I was 6 again. It was one of my first images. And I was just walking around the garden, and I looked up, and there was this bird of prey, because you can see the outline of the wings. It looks like a bird of prey, and it was just flying over very fast, and I managed to capture the image. And I looked closer, and it had barring all over it underneath, and that's a peregrine falcon's barring. And I shouted to Mum and Dad, "It's a peregrine falcon, it can see the bar." And they're like, "Nah, no chance, it's not a peregrine falcon." And then we put it into Photoshop, and I brought up the shadows. Peregrine falcon.
You could see, yeah.
It was
well
a peregrine
done, well
falcon,
done.
yeah.
And what I love about your images, you've got a really great eye, not only for detail, but also your composition, your lighting. You know, this is really high quality work by any standard, let alone someone your age. So, you know, super congratulations to you on that. The interesting thing is, as well as all this great photography, this is obviously natural history photography, but I've noticed on the next slide, you've also started doing a bit of studio sort of work as well.
Yeah, I did do a bit of studio for the RSPCA helping rehome animals. And this was like our practice, because we were actually doing your like diploma course in lighting photography. So I was testing out my knowledge. And this is our dog, Asa. And what we did is we put a nice blue background laid on the floor, and we got her to sit still. Wasn't easy, but we did get her to sit still. And it's a 2-light setup. And I got this picture of her just looking down at the lens, wondering what I was really doing.
Yeah, but great lighting as well.
Yeah.
So you've been, you know, on your journey in photography when you started, you would have had to learn all the basics of apertures and shutter speeds, exposure, ISO. But you've then now moved into understanding lighting as well.
Yes.
And yesterday, you and I did a little photo shoot together, didn't we? Where we were experimenting with different types of lighting and learning a little bit more about that, which was really great fun. Got another shot. The next one is another pet portrait one as well.
Yes.
You can see the reflection of the octobox.
Yes, you can see the octobox in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one has got a very interesting story behind it, really. Because this was one of the rabbits. He's called Bertie, and he needed a home, and he was at the RSPCA. So we went there to get a photo of him to help he would get rehomed, and he did, thankfully. But it was the room was it was only like that wide, and it was quite long, and the rabbit cages are all on the sides. And we had to put a box, and we draped the background over the top, and Dad had to hold the octobox in position, and it was right in the corner. He was squidged in the corner trying to hold it, and I was literally underneath all the rabbit cages trying to get this image. So, and the rabbit keeper was next to us trying to keep Bertie in the place where he was.
Well, it's really cool, and the lighting looks great again. But your talents don't just end there. The next slide, drawings too, artwork. I was amazed. I had no idea. I mean, I'd heard of you as a photographer, but I had no idea that you were also capable of producing this beautiful artwork and drawings.
Yeah.
So descriptive and vibrant as well. Tell us more about the drawings.
Yes, I love doing drawings. I've always liked doing drawings from a very young age. But I've always wanted to get good drawings that show it's actually the animal. Because when I started, the proportions weren't really there. But I've improved, like this alligator, for example. I've improved with getting those proportions. And I really enjoy doing high detail drawings of animals and sketches.
Yeah, but what I like about it as well is that your observation of lighting, you can see your use of light and shade. So you can obviously see how that sort of benefited your knowledge in photography has come through there as well.
Yeah.
Right, let's continue on. Let's take a look at the next slide. This is another award-winning image, isn't it?
Yes.
Tell us about this.
So this one was last year's British Wildlife Photographer of the Year. It won the 11 and category, this one, and it's of a Manx shearwater. Now, Manx shearwaters are mainly nocturnal birds, so they only are around about active at night.
Okay.
But you can see them coming back because they go way out at sea in the day to hunt for food, and then they come all the way back in, and they literally wander around in their burrows. But when you go out in the evening, you can capture a glimpse of them just flying around, going back. And there were 3 bobbing along on the waves. We were on a boat, and the boat was like this.
Wow.
It was all bobby. And they literally almost took off instantly. And there were there were other people on the boat with us. And I captured this one just taking off from the water before it left to go back to Skoma Island, actually.
That's amazing because, again, composition-wise, timing-wise, you seem to have that really well locked in your skill set there. I think the next video is you picking up an award.
This actually was the Manx shearwater one.
Right. And the images go in the book as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Because you get your images in the book, and if you have your images in your book, you have a chance to actually get something in the categories.
That's amazing. You must be your parents must be super, super proud of you.
Yeah, I think they are.
Oh, that's good. Right. Let's have a look at our next question. You might be a bit young to answer this yet, but let's give it a go. What do you hope to be doing when you're a grown-up?
Well, I hope that I can use my photography to show people how amazing wildlife is. And if someone loves the wildlife, they want to protect it. And I would like to try and show people how beautiful wildlife is so that they want to protect it. That's my goal.
Now, I think you would also make an excellent wildlife presenter.
Yep.
Because you seem to know quite a lot about the wildlife, not just taking photos of it, but your knowledge of it is building really dramatically as well. Do you enjoy watching wildlife programs like David Attenborough and those sort of Blue Planet, Planet Earth, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I used to watch them all the time, and I still do. And I watch loads of other wildlife things to learn all the knowledge that I'm getting, like Deadly 60 and things like that.
Is that Steve Backshall?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, obviously, if you're talking about wildlife programs like that, that's filming and video.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about maybe moving your skill set into filming and doing some video work?
I do little bits every now and again. I am trying to do more video work as I move forward, because if you get videos, it shows the animal walking around things. With a picture, it just captures moments.
Yes.
So you can see it like walking around and hunting and all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And the camera that you use, I assume the Z9, that's got a video mode on it as well, hasn't it? So I think they're quite high quality video modes. And if you've got these nice lenses, but you'd probably be needing to use a tripod then for video.
Yeah, well, this may sound crazy, but I don't use tripods really much at all.
Oh, okay.
I remember we were photographing red squirrels once, and it was a workshop, a Nikon workshop. And the
Were you teaching it to the others?
No, but I was in a position, and he said, right, focus on my hand, because it was the lad that fed the squirrels and things. So he said, focus on my hand, because this is roughly where they're going to jump. So we all focused on that hand. And he said, you might need a tripod. And we were like, nah, she's okay.
That's good.
And then all the other people had tripods. And I managed to capture around about 5 images of it jumping. And these squirrels only jumped 5 times.
Okay, right.
And I got them all handheld, and the others didn't get anything
they missed
really.
It, right. So that was actually an instance where you were better off without the tripod. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. But if you move into video, you're definitely going to need to work with tripods more, because the shaky footage wouldn't look too good. Now, let's look at the next question. Is there one animal that you'd love to photograph that you haven't yet?
Okay, well, there's a bucket list really. And it's growing longer and longer the further I go into photography. But I'd say I want to do more underwater photography because I
Okay.
really like sharks and things.
Oh, wow.
So, because a couple of days ago we did spot the sea slug, but we didn't have a camera.
Yeah.
So that's another thing added
But to
the
do
bucket
underwater
list.
photography, you've got to be able to scuba dive.
Yeah.
And you need a lot of special equipment for underwater work. Because I
Yeah.
go filming underwater on shipwrecks and things.
Yes.
So there's a whole nother skill set involved. I think you're still too young to learn to scuba dive, aren't you?
I snorkeled it once before in the Great Barrier Reef, and that was pretty special.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
pretty much the only time I've snorkeled.
Well, I wish you luck. I mean, in doing underwater photography, because that's an amazing, amazing new environment to photograph and
Yeah.
to film. But yeah, you've got to do your diving courses first. And then, you know what Mum and Dad aren't going to be very happy about is how expensive underwater camera equipment and housings is. That starts to get really silly. But
Dad and
anyway.
I have looked at it and we've been like, oh no.
Yeah, because you have to put your camera inside
A waterproof
another
casing,
housing
yeah.
and then another lens on the outside. But anyway, now let's move on to you've been taking pictures since what age did you start?
I started 6.
At 6,
Yeah.
and you're now 9. And looking at your work and how many amazing images, you must have thousands and thousands of images.
Yes.
How do you organise and store them all and know where they are and know?
It's not easy. You've got to literally remember which drive you put what in.
Yeah.
And I think I've got now around about 10 drives.
Hard drives.
Yeah, hard
Yeah.
drives with all my photos and videos on.
Do you catalogue them and organise them in
Yeah,
a way
we
so
do
you can
organise
find them?
Yeah. We've got folders like saying what day it was, for instance.
Or what animal
what
or
animal,
species?
like stag day or something,
Okay.
you know, something like that.
Brilliant. Now, do you have time for any other hobbies or is it just photography?
I do have time for some other hobbies because I do some tennis as well.
Oh,
I do
right,
tennis.
okay.
And obviously I do drawing.
The
And I also
drawings.
do voiceover work.
Yes, I saw that on your website.
Yes.
Tell our audience what your website is.
So my website is eagleeyegirl.co.uk
Yeah.
and you can go on there and you can see my photos, my videos, and I've even started up a new little videos thing called Story Time, which I read stories and stuff. But you can
Fantastic.
also go on there and you can hear some of my voiceover work. Yeah.
That's amazing. You've got lots of creative talents, haven't
Yes.
you? And where does that come from? Is that from Mum and Dad or is you just fell out the sky as a creative person?
No, photography didn't really come from Mum and Dad.
No.
His dad always had a camera. He always liked doing photography as a hobby. He always used to do it with old film and things.
Yeah.
But I think I just picked up on it and I just really enjoy doing photography and artwork especially because we all do a bit of artwork, but we're not exactly professionals. I just like doing loads of different things, yeah.
Amazing. Now, these series of images are interesting because this is almost like photojournalism, sort of
Yes.
reportage style. And what I like about this is rather than all just the beautiful pictures, you've got a few pictures that are almost a little bit sort of edgy, like slide number 34. Kind of surprised me when I saw this one.
Yeah.
Tell us what we're seeing here.
Yeah, this one was actually taken on a mobile phone. We
Okay.
were walking along the beach and we spotted just a lump, and we wondered what it was. So we went in for a closer look and I spotted it was a dead seal. And I was shocked really because, well, there didn't look like there was any fishing gear or anything around. But yeah, it was a dead seal. So I decided just to get a quick photo of it.
So you're
to
sort of
show it, yeah.
you're not worried. You're okay photographing the sort of uglier side of nature as well as the beautiful side. And I think that's very important because I think there's a lot that we need to learn from some of these. Like your next slide, this one was quite interesting. It's this dead shark on a beach. Tell us a bit about this shot.
Yes, so this was very early morning in Australia on Wonga Beach, and at night people go out and they go fishing with nets, and these are black-tipped reef sharks, and they're very pretty sharks, and they get caught in the nets, and the fishermen don't see them, and unfortunately they don't go back in the water.
No.
And they,
But this
die.
is why I thought this was really interesting side to your photography this is storytelling.
Yes, it is.
This is giving some information about some of the problems and difficulties that nature faces.
Nature faces too many difficulties, really.
Yeah.
It faces so many, and this is one of them, really.
Yeah, absolutely. This one's a bit different. This is a really good shot of the moon. Really good.
Yeah.
This is difficult to do.
It wasn't easy, but I looked out the window one night and I thought that's a very bright moon. So I asked Dad to try and help me with some astrophotography and get the picture of the moon. And I managed to capture this one with actually the 800mm lens because the moon's so far away.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic because the detail of the craters and all the texture, and you have to have really good conditions. The temperature in the air has to be right in the atmosphere, but otherwise you get all this sort of shimmering in the atmosphere. But you've captured that really, really well. Now, do you think, again, you might be a bit young for this question because you don't really want to worry about this stuff yet, but do you think you'll go to university and study anything to do with like biology or zoology in the future? Or you're not thinking that far ahead?
I haven't really been thinking that far ahead, but I'm not sure. I might and I might not. It depends how I feel at the time.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely. I wouldn't be making that decision. My kids are a bit older than you and they don't even know what they're doing. And one of them's 16 and the other one is 13. And they haven't. One of them wants to be a footballer and the other one, I don't even know what the other one wants to be. I know she keeps changing her mind every week. Now, let's have a look at a couple more images. In particular, I want to have a look at number 40, slide 40. Tell us about this photo. So cute, this photo.
Yeah, this is a very cute photo of a little harvest mouse poking out of some corn. And this one actually got one of the 1100 category in the Crikey photography competition.
Yes.
So
let's look at the next slide because I think we see a little bit of that.
There it is. This one, oh, it's actually 14 and under. There we go.
So what is the Crikey competition?
The Crikey photography competition is run by Australia Zoo, and Robert Irwin and all the Irwins do the competition.
And Robert Irwin is the son of Steve Irwin.
Yes, he is. And I was lucky enough to meet him because we had an afternoon photographing with him. It was part of the win. And it was just very special. I got to feed turtles with him and it was amazingly special,
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you made the trip out to Australia then?
Yes, we made the trip out.
Just a couple of months ago, wasn't it?
Yes, we went out for a whole 4 weeks out there. Just going down the Gold Coast, really. So we went from Cairns to Brisbane to Melbourne, back to Brisbane for the ceremony, and then back to Cairns, then home.
Amazing.
So we had a big trip going all the way down and all the way back up again, just seeing all the wildlife that's there in Australia.
Fantastic. And what's your next sort of project? Have you got anything in mind? Anything you're sort of thinking of?
We are starting up a brand new podcast series called Eagle Hour, and it will be showcasing all the unsung heroes in the wildlife world and people just with amazing stories.
Right, and where can people listen to that podcast?
They can see that on my YouTube channel. It'll be coming out very soon.
Yep. Yeah, so tell us, just finally now as we wrap this up, tell our audience, one, we know your website already. Yep. What's your Instagram? So my Instagram is eagle_eyed_GRL. Because eagle-eyed GIRL was taken, so we went GRL instead. But if they look up, I think I looked up Eagle-Eyed Girl and you come up in the list anyway. So that's your Instagram. What's your YouTube channel? The YouTube channel is eagleeyedgirl.co.uk. But they can find all of the links off of that from your website as well, can't they? Which is fantastic. Well, I've got to congratulate you, Jamie. You've done such an amazing job. It's so nice to see someone so young, so passionate about what they do. Thank you. Also to have such an amazing skill set at such a young age. Now, also, you did our certification, didn't you? Yes. And that's quite a difficult exam, if you like, to pass. And the questions on it are quite involved. And, you need to learn a lot and study a lot on our platform to do it. But incredibly, you got 96%. I mean, you're just a little brain bug, aren't you? But anyway, we've got something for you here. There's your certification. Oh, wow. We've had one framed for you. And your score on there. And also, my friend, Tim Flack, is a wildlife photographer, but in the studio. And this is one of his books. And I'm sure he would be super happy for you to have one of those books.
Wow.
And maybe you can give Tim a call and he can show you some of his work in the future as well.
Oh, thank you so much.
Myself and the team, we wish you all the best for the future. It's so amazing to see such a young person with so much passion and delivering such high quality work at such a young age. Very, very well done.
Thank you.